Dear students, now we are going to discuss respiration in plants. Here the given heading is respiration in plants. The mechanism of respiration is common for all organisms, maximum extent. So what about mechanism of respiration in plants? So before moving into the mechanism of aerobic and anaerobic respiration, what about the introduction part given in our textbook? Okay, so within the introduction part, so many questions are there. What are they? First question, what is breathing? And why breathing is so essential? What is breathing actually? Exchange of gases, particularly intake of oxygen, exhalation of inhalation of oxygen, exhalation of CO2 is nothing but breathing. Do all organisms are able to breathe? Breathing is common for all organisms. Do all organisms breathe? And what about what is the source of energy? What is the source of energy? And fourth question, how do organisms, how do they get energy from food? And what is the mechanism by means of which they are getting required energy? Here energy is required to perform a number of metabolic reactions, vital activities. That may be a transportation energy required, transpiration energy required, translocation, transportation of materials energy required, breathing also, for breathing also energy required, for walking. So like that, so many phenomena are there. For all these, energy is required. What about the source of energy? And what is a cellular respiration? What is a cellular respiration? And what is a digestion? So if you look all these questions, definitely they are completely disconnected. They look like all these are completely disconnected, but actually they are connected with each other. So all these events are in contact with, in connection with each other or not? Definitely. First, digestion. Digestion results in the formation of monomers. These monomers are oxidized in the presence of oxygen to liberate energy. That is the knowledge we have. So all those events, what I explained, taking place in all these things are not. Definitely, all these questions are linked questions. Particularly, breathing. Breathing is breathing directly linked with liberation of or release of energy. release of energy from oxidation of food material. Okay, so breathing and oxidation of food linked with each other or not. So during respiration, what is a respiration here? Cellular respiration. So during respiration, most of the organisms are taking oxygen in, and that oxygen is used to break CC bonds. So here, what are the respiratory substrates? Before moving into that mechanism, what are the respiratory substrates? Respiratory substrates. What are the respiratory substrates? Various biomolecules present in food that we eat, and they undergo oxidation during respiration, are collectively called as respiratory substrates. So simply, respiratory substrates are nothing but biomolecules. Biomolecules, both macro and micro biomolecules. Biomolecules in food undergo oxidation either completely or incompletely to release a considerable amount of energy, are called as respiratory substrates. So respiratory substrates are organic compounds with a number of carbon atoms. Between carbon atoms, bonds are present. For example, here I'm taking certain number of respiratory substrates. What are the examples for respiratory substrates? First one, carbohydrates. Proteins, lipids, and organic acids. So these are the respiratory substrates. Definitely, whatever the food we are consuming is with certain number of proteins, lipids, organic acids, and the maximum part is with carbohydrates. So in most of the organisms, preferred respiratory substrate is carbohydrate, and rarely proteins, lipids, organic acids are acting as a respiratory substrates under certain conditions. So generally, in most of the cases, carbohydrate is the preferred respiratory substrate. Reason, carbohydrates are easy to oxidize. For oxidation of proteins and lipids and organic acids, it is a time-consuming one. So that's why in most of the organisms, glucose or fructose or some other monomer is the preferred respiratory substrate. So all these are biomolecules. In all these biomolecules, certain number of carbon atoms are present. Carbon bond, carbon bond. So take like a certain number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbons, glucose molecule. CC bonds. So at a time of C3 cycle, particularly, whatever the energy present in ATP and NADPHH plus is resolved in bonds between carbon atoms. So if this bond is hydrolyzed, if this bond is oxidized, so definitely that results in the formation of some amount of energy. That is a bond energy. So during respiration, these bonds are subjected to oxidation in the presence of oxygen. In the presence of oxygen, that carbohydrate is completely oxidized. So here, breaking of CC bonds in the presence of oxygen within the cell is called as cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. So here, what is the question is, what is the objective of respiration? Is it only energy? Is it only energy? So the answer is not only energy. The purpose of respiration is not only liberation of energy. So what is the purpose of respiration? What is the objective of respiration? What about the aim of respiration? So energy present in CC bonds is oxidized into first one, energy. Not only energy, but also second one is very, very important. Not only energy, but also it is able to synthesize compounds, various molecules, other biomolecules, other compounds. So respiration is able to synthesize certain compounds, precursors, precursors to synthesize other biomolecules, other biomolecules. So not only liberation of energy, able to synthesize certain organic compounds. They act as precursors, starters, raw materials to synthesize other biomolecules. What are those other biomolecules? Particularly lipids and proteins. So during respiration, certain number of intermediate compounds are withdrawn from the respiratory chain, and they are involved in the synthesis of lipids, proteins, nucleic acids, chlorophylls, and other biomolecules. So first role is energy. Second role is, what about second one? This one is carbon skeleton. Carbon skeleton. What is carbon skeleton? Our body is constructed with number of proteins or not. If you take a plasma membrane, cell membrane, chemically with lipids and proteins, definitely that lipid and protein is carbon skeleton. With the help of that, our body is constructed. During photosynthesis, definitely the end product, the main end product is carbohydrate. Carbohydrate only. If carbohydrate is oxidized, energy produced, and other precursors which are required to produce carbon skeleton. What are the carbon skeleton related compounds which are involved in the construction of the body? So second one is nothing but a construction of the body. Carbon skeleton is concerned with building blocks, construction of body. So purpose of respiration is not only energy, but also carbon skeleton. So what is that carbon skeleton? That part is very, very important. For example, this is body. This body is constructed with a carbon skeleton. What is that carbon skeleton? Go back to cell biology. For example, cell wall, cellulose, hemicellulose, pectin, like that. Plasma membrane, lipid, proteins, polysaccharides, cholesterol. Protoplasm, a number of biomolecules are present. DNA, biomolecule or not. So all these are involved in the construction of a body. For example, this building is constructed with bricks, cement, sand, and other materials. So all these are skeleton of that building or not. So by means of photosynthesis, only carbohydrates are produced. These carbohydrates are oxidized to liberate energy some extent, and rest of the biomolecules are acting as precursors, raw materials, starters, reactants to produce various biomolecules which are involved in the construction of the body. So the purpose of respiration is not only energy to construct the body. So if it is involved in energy liberation, so it is a catabolic process, catabolism. And this one is involved in the construction of the body, anabolism. So both are taking place. Hence, respiration is called as an amphibolic pathway. Metabolism, that is both catabolism and anabolism. Energy produced by breaking down of CC bonds, catabolism, complex into simple. And certain number of intermediates are withdrawn and involved in the construction of the body by synthesizing lipids, proteins, carbon skeleton. So it comes under both catabolism and anabolism. So respiration is amphibolic, both sides, energy and construction of the body. So that is the objective of respiration, right? Next. So during respiration, energy is liberated. Now, what is the difference between respiration and combustion? So what is the difference between combustion? Combustion and respiration. Respiration is well known to us. Respiration is a biological phenomena. For that, cell is required. Cellular respiration. So this one is a biological phenomena. Or process. This one is abiological. Abiological. Right? So both are concerned with the conversion of complex into simple. Complex materials. Complex into simple. For example, take a petrol, diesel, wood also. You can take wood also. Complex organic compounds are converted into simple inorganic components or not. For example, petrol or diesel, fossil fuels. Burning of all these results in carbon monoxide and other gases. So carbon is completely oxidized into its oxidized compounds. Maximum extent that is a carbon monoxide. Wood, for example, burning of wood. Burning of wood. Ash or not? Ash. So during combustion, the process is very fast. This one is very fast. Very fast. It is not a stepwise process taking place at a time. So very fast. And what about here? In this case, complex to simple. And sometimes complex also possible if it is anabolic. We will see that one under the heading amphibolic pathway, not here. So complex into simple. So during respiration, if it is aerobic respiration, what are the products? Energy, CO2, H2O. Here also energy. Energy is produced. Here also energy. So it is a very fast process. Within minutes of time, within 1 hour, entire, for example, forest with thousands of trees. If it is fired, within 1 hour, entire forest is converted into ash or not. So less time consuming, very fast. It is not a slow stepwise manner, continuously happening. So here energy released. Energy is, what about energy? That energy, entire energy is liberated in heat form only. Heat form only. No chemical energy. No chemical energy. But what about respiration? Respiration is a very slow process, stepwise process. Stepwise process, gradually happening, slowly taking place. So because of slow process, during slow, as it is slow, certain steps in are certain reactions. Certain steps are involved in the synthesis of ATP. So here energy released. Energy is both in the form of chemical energy, ATP, and heat. Both are produced. So maximum amount of heat energy and some amount of energy is converted into ATP. By means of combustion, entire energy is converted into heat energy only. But what about here? That energy out of total amount of energy present in one glucose molecule, for example, maximum in the form of heat energy and remaining in the form of chemical energy, that is ATP. So as respiration is a stepwise process, because of that slow and stepwise process, enabling the system to convert some amount of energy to synthesize ATP molecule. ATP is well known to you. What is ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. It is a nucleotide with two additional phosphates. ATP is energy currency of the cell. So whatever the energy released in the form of ATP is preserved within the cell. Whenever energy is required, that ATP is transported into the area where ATP is required. Hence the name cellular energy. ATP is nothing but a cellular energy, right? So simply during respiration, energy is liberated and a certain number of compounds are involved in the construction of body, that is carbon skeleton. So that a stepwise process. Slow step is very, very important. In the case of combustion, very fast. Slow process, time consuming one. Because of slow process, some amount of energy is converted into ATP. Right? So there is a difference between combustion and respiration. So respiration is a biological phenomena that involves combustion, which is a physical phenomena. But here it results in the formation of ATP, energy, chemical energy, heat, and certain number of intermediates are involved in the construction of a body, that is the carbon skeleton. That is the difference between combustion and respiration. Now the question is, before moving into next question, that is, do plants breathe? What about ATP molecule? The definition is well known, adenosine triphosphate. So what are the compounds present in ATP molecule? So one is a sugar molecule. Sugar molecule, that is a ribose sugar. Not deoxyribose, ribose sugar molecule. One ribose sugar molecule. A 5-carbon sugar, ribose sugar. It is not a deoxyribose sugar. Next, bond. Okay, so adenosine. What is a sine? Sine, dine, nucleoside. So here take a adenine. So adenine is linked to sugar molecule. This linkage is called as N-glycosidic bond. This is very, very important. N-glycosidic bond. Go back to DNA structure. It is nucleotide. So this one is nucleotide. So here sugar plus adenine. Sugar plus adenine is equal to adenosine. Okay, that is a nucleoside or not? So this one is nucleoside. This one is nucleoside. So the bond present between nitrogen base, adenine, a purine, and ribose sugar is N-glycosidic bond. N-glycosidic bond. And what about the position of that bond? First carbon atom of sugar and ninth nitrogen atom of that adenine. Go back to molecular basis of anions, you'll get it. Biomolecules also. First carbon of sugar involved in the formation of that bond and the ninth nitrogen atom. That is N-glycosidic bond. Right? Next, ribose sugar bond at fifth carbon atom. Take fifth carbon atom. 1 phosphate. Okay, so phosphate, ester bond. This is ester bond. Ester bond. Single ester bond. Ester bond. So simply phosphate bond sugar adenine. What is this one? Nucleotide. That is a adenosine monophosphate. Monophosphate. AN. Okay, sorry for the disturbance. Vajna madam joined, called me, and she asked about the class. Okay, we'll continue. Okay, so this is a monophosphate, and add one more phosphate, adenosine diphosphate, and add one more phosphate. How many phosphates? 1, 2, 3. 3 phosphates. Now it is a ATP molecule, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, nucleoside triphosphate. So this is the structure of ATP molecule, energy currency of the cell.